Megacast TV, your channel of choice. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Megacast TV. My name's Jake and I'm joined as always by my co-host from across the pond, the wonderful Beth. How are you, Beth?
Hi, I'm doing so well. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm all right, thank you. You just spent a week in the UK.
I did. I was lucky enough to travel solo by myself and come over to England and have a visit.
So how did you find it? Were you excited? Were you nervous?
I was so excited. I can't even put into words. I was a little nervous. I think the whole going through customs internationally really made me pretty anxious. But as it turns out, there was nothing to be worried about.
Yeah, it's all turned out all right in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I never even had to talk to anybody. It was fine. All but worry for nothing.
So do you want to describe your entry into customs and what happened? Because that was quite a funny story, isn't it?
Sure. So I had a 7.5 hour flight out of Detroit Metro Airport, and I had no layovers or anything. So it was a really great flight. It was a flight at night, so it was pretty quiet. And I was so excited. I could not sleep, so I didn't get any rest. And landed. It was a smooth flight, no problems. And it was morning time by the time we got to England. So we landed, and I got there, and I kind of kept checking the signs of like where I'm supposed to go, thinking I'm supposed to talk to somebody. Somebody's going to pull me aside, ask me a bunch of questions about what you're doing here. And there was nobody there. I had to go through and scan my passport, and that was kind of it. And there was a duty free, or you had to declare.
Right.
And I didn't have anything because I traveled just with a backpack. I didn't want to have to wait in line just for luggage.
So you had minimal luggage, didn't you, when you came through?
Yep.
Okay.
Which was good and bad because I didn't really want to be lugging all that around, but bad because I didn't get to bring any really souvenirs or trinkets or t-shirts or anything like I wanted to for my pen pals. So that was kind of a bummer. But got through customs and walked right through, and I kept thinking like, this is it. That's too easy. There's nobody going to say anything to me. So I walked on through, and then I was on the outside of the airport, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was a little tricky because there wasn't a whole lot of signs posted about where you catch a cab or a taxi, or how to get to the rental car or anything like that. So it was a little confusing there. But I just kind of felt like I did something wrong. Like I pulled one over on England's eyes because I didn't have to talk to anybody in customs. So I kind of, as soon as I got outside, I was like, I'm out of here.
So you didn't even have a bag to collect, which meant you just went straight through.
Right.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of questions here for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with, did you enjoy your time in the UK, and was it what you expected?
I absolutely enjoyed every single minute and second that I was in England. And I tried to be very present and in the moment, and very minimal phone calls, excuse me, or time on social media or anything. I just really wanted to enjoy every single moment because I wanted to take this trip for 30 years. So I loved every minute. I feel like the images of the hills and the greenery, it was everything that I had pictured in my head. It was amazing.
No, I remember us driving down the motorway, and every so often Beth would go, oh my God. And I'd be like, what? And she'd go, it's a view. And it's something that us British, kind of take for granted.
Sure, that's your everyday, right?
Yeah, but you were just like spellbound, weren't you, almost?
Yeah. I mean, where I live in Ohio, it's a very flat, lots of cornfields or empty farmer fields, and it's just brown a lot of times for the dirt, or the corn. It can be kind of green, but like towards the end of the season, it'll be brown. and it's not much to look at. So to see these lush green hills and little sheep roaming all over, it's just like, whoa, that's your view every day. That's amazing.
And when you went home, obviously you were able to talk about these things with family and friends.
Right.
How did you describe that? What did you say?
I just said, like the things that you would see snapshots on a calendar, that's what I got to see in person.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So talking about driving down the motorway, which we did quite a lot of,
we did.
we passed our M62 house and house in the middle of the M62, God knows how many times. How did you find driving in England? How does it differ to driving in the United States?
Yeah, so it's obviously the opposite side of the road. So I really had to, I felt like, focus very hard on doing things that feel very normal with driving, like turning. I really had to pay attention. What way am I going? And even roundabouts. I caught myself luckily on a roundabout where there wasn't really only one car. I just went with my muscle memory and turned the wheel to go one way. And Jake's like, no, 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 you're going the wrong way. And I thought, not in America, I'm not. So I had to quickly turn the wheel and go the other way. But it wasn't too bad, especially on a motorway, because they're nice, smooth surfaces. And as long as it's a long stretch and as long as you're kind of following the person in front of you, it's not too bad. There's not too much to think about. But even just, switching lanes, just making sure that you're really careful to look, because the whole inside of the car is a different setup. You're on the other side of the car. So that kind of threw me off a little bit.
I know when you first arrived and you picked up the car and you sent me because Beth and I use an app called Marco to communicate, and you sent me a Marco of the car, and you were like, "Oh my God, I'm on the wrong side."
Okay. I'm sorry I look a little rough. It's been a long trip. So I'm in the car and I'm on the wrong side. Let's see how this goes.
Which you were showing me the steering wheel at the time, and it was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And a couple times when you and I were walking to the car, I went to your spot and you just kind of looked at me and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm on the other side.
I know. It was really bizarre. So for you, was there a highlight moment of your trip that you enjoyed the most? If you could pick one moment of the trip, the whole 6 days you were here, was there something that you thought, this is amazing?
Everyone keeps asking me that, and it's so hard because something, my dream was to go to England, so I got to do that. So that was amazing. But my dream also was to go to the Beatle childhood homes, and I got to do that. And that was absolutely amazing to be, for me, in the same area or the same presence of greatness. That was amazing to me. Going to the Coronation Street set was amazing. Being able to see and touch the thing that I watch on TV every day and getting like that access that not everybody gets. That was amazing. But honestly, I think the best moment for me was when I pulled in and you were standing outside your front porch and you were waiting for me and we just had this hug. It was like, oh my God, I've talked to this guy, over Zoom and over an app and Facebook Messenger, but it made it real, that moment.
I messaged Trace that used to do the Megacast TV with me shortly after we'd had that meeting, and I said we had the longest hug, and it was just so nice. It was like we've been friends forever.
That is amazing that you said it, because that's exactly how I felt. It was just like I've always known you or something.
I know, it's really bizarre, isn't it? It was like we just kind of picked up from our everyday sort of Megacast TV and Marco lives and carried on, didn't we? It was like It was perfectly natural. It was just like two friends hanging out.
Yeah, it wasn't awkward or weird or tense or like we were scrambling to things to talk about. It was just like we have always been friends.
So you stayed in the travel lodge.
I did.
And I did warn you that the Travelodge is not, especially Barnsley, is not one of the greatest hotels to stay in. But you were like, look, I just want somewhere to rest my head. I just want somewhere to sleep. That's not like mega expensive. And that's all I use it for, really. So what did you think to your hotel?
Yeah, I think that it was just that. I think it was a place to put my stuff and kind of sleep at night. Um, I just needed the basics. I was surprised there was no phone in the room. I came during a time of a heat wave in England, and it was pretty warm. You had warned me there's not air conditioning over here, so I thought, okay, there was an air conditioning in the room, an air conditioner, but it wasn't working. So that was kind of like and it was just one fan. So the windows opened a little bit, but they didn't open all the way, probably for security or safety reasons. So it was definitely a little warm and stuffy in there, but the bedding, there's some issues like with cleanliness. And I didn't feel like I really felt comfortable enough to go kind of complain because, you know, the accents did give away, and I didn't want to kind of be that American Karen, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't say anything, and luckily there was a second bed in my room, so I just slept in the other bed and it was fine.
Because you found crumbs in your bed, didn't you?
Yeah, and there was like some hair, and it just wasn't very clean.
Oh, that's disappointing. Would you stay there again, though?
If it was just me solo and kind of doing the same thing, out traveling all day long and just need to come back and shower and go to bed, yeah, I probably would. But if I was going to bring maybe my spouse or my kids or another friend with me, I don't think I would stay there.
Okay. So was there something in particular you found surprising about being in England? Maybe something done differently in the States that we've done differently here? It could be anything. It could be, you know, the taps, for example. It could be eating in a restaurant. Whatever. If there's something that really you thought, oh, that's different.
I think there were two for me that really surprised me. And they were really kind of based around the restaurant industry.
Right.
The tipping difference from England to America, and eating out. It seemed the few restaurants that we went to, I'm just sitting at the table expecting waiter or waitress to kind of come to me like in America. And that wasn't the case. And again, there wasn't any sign saying like, go up to the bar and order your food. So right. I would have been sitting there for quite a long time thinking, wow, this is really bad customer service I'm getting, but not knowing you're supposed to go to the bar and order your own food.
Right. And this is why I kept saying to Beth, we just don't tip, because they do nothing. They do nothing except bring your food to you, really. They don't take your order. You have to go to the bar and order yourself. I mean, for the majority of the time, you have to get your own drinks and everything, don't you? So
Right. And I think
so,
the fact that the waiters and waitresses here in America, they get a lower wage to rely on tipping.
Right.
Is different versus there, you know, English people get a little bit of a higher wage because there isn't the tipping norm.
Right. Okay. So that kind of brings me on to my next question. How did you cope with the not tipping? Even when the service was really good, you know, I mean, there were a couple of places, you know, the guy in Bella Italia, he was spot on. He was great, you know.
He was.
And
yeah, and that
we
was
tipped
really
him,
good
didn't
food.
we?
We did. It felt a little awkward. I do think that in those moments I did feel guilty because me and my husband, we are kind of tip on the high side just because we know what it's like to be working for lower wage, and part of your wage does come, you know, from tipping. And so we try to, you know that these waiters and waitresses are on their feet, they're back and forth, they're, you know, moving really quickly, and they can be exhausting. So we try and make sure that we're mindful of that. But I did feel a little guilty not tipping people, even if they went and got me my drinks. And that was kind of the extent of it. I still felt really bad not tipping.
Okay, so while you were over here, did you get a chance to watch British TV at all? And what did you think to British television?
Yeah, there was a little bit of TV. We got to watch Coronation Street, which is one of my favorite shows, and that's how we met. And that was interesting because that plays for an hour over in England, and that's 3 days a week. And over in America, which I get from a Canadian channel, it's played every weekday, so 5 days, and it's a 30-minute program.
Right. Okay.
So that's interesting.
Can I just say, up until recently, it was on here 5 days a week, and they've recently changed that. Something like last September, they changed that to 3 episodes a week for an hour.
Oh, okay. So it was the same. Okay.
Yeah.
So the other thing was the news. BBC News was on, got to watch that. And they did talk a lot about American politics and what's going on, because it does seem kind of be a crazy time right now. But it was it felt like they were focusing again, like on the negative stuff that was going on. And it was like kind of scary, like China and Taiwan and America, and there's threats being, put out. And it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to leave when I get out of here? Because I did feel like it is very similar to American news, where it's kind of like fear-based,
Okay. So you were surprised at that, were you?
Yeah. I guess I was thinking I was going to be a little more upbeat or positive.
Okay. And how was your visit to the Coronation Street set? Was it exactly as you expected, or did you think, oh, everything's not what I thought it was?
Yeah, watching it, I get very disoriented a lot. So I feel like going to the set really helped me, like, oh yeah, here's Sally's house, and it's, next to this house. And it really helped me kind of see the street and put it all together. Okay.
And what about your trip to Blackpool? Was there a highlight of that trip that you thought, I like Blackpool, or Blackpool's great, or I enjoyed this particular thing?
Yeah, that was a fun day. There was a aquarium that we went to. Could you tell everybody what the name of that was?
The Sea Life Aquarium at Blackpool, yeah.
Okay, so that was a very, the Sea Life Center. That was a very, I kind of felt like it was like a hands-on experience.
As our fingerprints are to us, so we can tell each individual shark just from the black tip on its fin, so that's pretty cool. So we've got 12 of them here in this centre. We have got 6 adults here in this tank, and then 6 babies, which you've probably seen, you definitely have seen, in Stingray Adventure. So they're the babies over there, and they are the parents in here, and the reason we split them up is because they are very good parents. So unfortunately, sharks do abandon their babies after they've given birth, so it's just much easier if we replicate how it would be in the wild and have the adults in here and the babies over there. So, black tip ring sharks are pelagic, so that means that they cannot breathe unless they are swimming. So they have to manually breathe themselves, whereas other sharks can obviously just automatically do it like we can. And so that means that from the day they are born up until they're about 30, which is their life expectancy, they will be consistently swimming. So in order to be able to do that, they basically need to split their brain in half so they can get a little bit of rest as well at the same time. So consistently, like right now we're looking at them, they're basically half asleep. So their brain's like this all the time, and then they charge one side up and swap over. The only time that they have ever got their full brain switched on is when they are eating or when they are being chased. Which luckily they don't get chased here, so that's okay. But you really can tell that they are much more alert. So moving on, who else have we got? We have got a lady who is down here. If you haven't seen her, you can absolutely come and have a look. So she's down in that corner there. Usually she will be swimming around a little bit. She is called a shovel-nosed guitarfish. So we're not sure whether she is a ray or a shark, not just us here, but scientists in general can't decide. So she's got a really, really flat front, so her nose is flat like a ray, and her back is big and chunky like a shark. So they're not sure. She's definitely a close relative, but they haven't. Some scientists believe she is one and some believe she is another. I'm sure at some point we will come to a conclusion. But her nose is cartilage, just like our nose and our ears, so she finds it much more easy to be swimming in and out of things with a lot of ease. She also uses her nose to shovel up like sand and things on the floor, so she can find lots of things to eat. So the next thing we will talk about is Phoenix. So Phoenix is our big green sea turtle. I'm absolutely sure you will have seen her. She'll be back in a second, even if we haven't. So these turtles can live up until they're about 200. So Phoenix is 23. She is still a baby. So they become adults when they're about 40. So Phoenix is in the second stage of her diet. So these big green sea turtles, they go through 3 stages of diet. The first one is purely just animal protein. When they're obviously babies, they need to get big and strong. The second one is animal protein and vegetation. So they eat obviously the animal protein, and they also eat a lot of greens like seagrass and seaweed. And the third is just vegetation, as you can see here she is front and centre. So Phoenix is in the second stage right now because she's a little bit older than a baby, but she's not an adult yet. She still needs that animal protein. However, she eats a lot of greens, so she eats things like squid and mackerel. But she's also, her favourites, to be honest, are like lettuce and leeks and cucumbers. And it's actually because of all the greens that she eats that she is green. So if they didn't eat all of them greens, they would actually be brown. Which is very weird considering their name is green sea turtle, but there we go. So the Phoenix is actually one of our most endangered species here at Sea Life, and that is due to her age and her diet. So because she is still a baby, and she is still attracted to the animal protein, one of their favourite things to eat, especially in the wild, is jellyfish. So jellyfish to them is like chocolate is to us. It's a bit of a treat. It's not really got much nutritional value to it, but they absolutely love it. Something that does replicate a jellyfish in the wild, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, is a plastic bag. So in the ocean, obviously a plastic bag is kind of floating around like this. They do get a little bit confused, so the babies do end up eating the plastic bags. This is obviously a problem because they can't digest plastic. And it only actually takes 6 plastic bags to fill up a baby turtle's stomach. So once they've eaten 6 plastic bags, that's it. They can't fit anything else in their stomach, and they do essentially starve, which is a problem anyway because we don't want our turtles to starve. But it's an even bigger problem because it is the baby, so they can't then grow up and breed. So obviously, I'm sure you're aware of how we can fix it, but we just reduce the amount of plastic that we use, especially plastic bags, for example, like getting bags for life and things like that. Obviously, I'm sure we're all partial to a takeaway. I know I am. And it comes in a plastic bag, and you've got no choice. So when that happens, you can recycle at your local supermarket. I know the Sainsbury's does it, usually everywhere. Tesco, Blackpool, for example. If you've not got that choice, the last thing that I would say, like the last option, tie it up in a really tight knot before putting it in the bin, and it won't replicate a jellyfish, hopefully. So, if you have got any questions, please do feel free to ask, because that was only 3 of the animals in here, and obviously there is a lot. This is the end of the centre, unfortunately. As you come around this corner, you'll hit the gift shop, which I'm sure all the mums and dads are absolutely buzzing about. And then in the corner, we have got a little survey machine, so if you could spend a minute or two just to give us a little bit of feedback, that'd be great. Our bosses in the office do love it, and it will do us all a favour. Obviously, let us know what you like, what you think we can improve, whatever you think is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, just a reminder to keep your questions on, and please do not sit or stand on the side, but come over if you've got any questions.
You got to some of the things you could touch and really go right up to the glass and really see a lot of the stuff that we don't get to see because it's down below. So that was really interesting. That was a fun day, and it lasted quite a long time too. We were there quite a while.
Yeah, I like the Sea Life Centre. It was good, wasn't it? We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then, well, I got due to free tickets that we got when we made a complaint a couple of years back. We got these free tickets, and she gave me my free ticket back, which means we can go again.
Yay! Yeah.
Okay.
So that was fun. And then I really liked walking on the pier with you, like being able to see all the different games and little rides and stuff like that for families. That was pretty cool. But then also just being able to go and kind of walk down a little bit further and going right onto the beach. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a good day, wasn't it? And the weather was perfect all the time you were here, wasn't it?
I
We had a
got
little
so
bit of
lucky.
rain, didn't we? But
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's one thing I did kind of miss out on was like that traditional English overcast rain that you see and hear a lot about. I'm not complaining, because it was beautiful weather, but I did envision a lot of that, like rainy days or walking around where it's kind of like misting and kind of cold.
right. So, was there anything you'd change about your trip to the UK?
Oh boy. I think maybe leaving some places just a little bit earlier because I did miss part of the Beatles tour. That would probably be the one thing. I did miss the tour, the full tour. I was able to come on kind of like the second half and catch Sir Paul McCartney's house, but I did miss going through John Lennon's house. So that was kind of a bummer, but other than that, I feel like I had the perfect vacation and the perfect trip.
Okay. So, what one thing have you talked most to family and friends about on arriving home about your trip?
I think my family was most interested in seeing the money and the currency because we always hear about a pound, and I think we kind of think like maybe these pounds are kind of heavy, because a pound of weight and maybe the association. So my family was very interested to see and feel the money that I brought back with me. I brought back with me a fiver, right? Because that's the lowest denomination bill. And the money is so different. The English money is plastic,
Right,
right?
the notes, yes.
Right. And the American dollars are paper. I mean, it's very brittle. You can rip it, you can wash it, it gets faded. If you roll it up, it stays kind of curled. So yeah, it's very paper like.
So, did you take any coins back with you, and were you able to show them then?
I did. I brought a pound and then a couple different pence back.
Okay,
And so they were feeling that and looking at that. They enjoyed that.
okay. So, you had a tattoo while you were over here. How did you find your whole tattoo experience?
Yeah, that was fun. That was interesting. And the healing process, the instructions were much different. So we were talking about that with the tattoo artist who was super welcoming, very friendly, just made it a really, really great experience for me. So I appreciated that.
Okay, so were you shocked at the price difference of things in the shops compared to the States?
Yes, 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 yes. So even the tattoo itself, I feel like it was pretty inexpensive compared to American tattoo shops. They have a minimum. So even if you come in and you get a tiny little flower or something about that size, the minimum is no matter what size, it's a minimum of maybe like $150 or $200.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You could get one this big or this big, but at least $150 to $200. That was not the case in England. So that was really awesome. He charged us what he felt was appropriate. So
Right.
there was no minimum. So that was really much appreciated, but very respected in my eyes.
And what about generally while you were going around like supermarkets and shops here over here in the UK? What did you think to prices? Because you were talking about things like Adidas or Adidas shower gel that would cost a bomb over there in the States. And it's like $1 or the equivalent to almost $1 here.
Yeah. So a lot of the brand name stuff was so much cheaper there. So Adidas, the shower gel, Dove soap, the liquid soap, it comes in like a real big bottle. It, over here, that probably goes for about $8 to $10 over there.
Oh,
And yeah,
wow.
it was about $2, $3, something like that. And I was just kind of blown away at for brand names, the difference in the price. Stuff over there did seem a lot cheaper. but some of the stuff, some of it was kind of like, yeah, that would be about the same.
Did you find any language barriers hard, either while you were in Barnsley or Blackpool or, Liverpool? I mean, Liverpool, our accent is hard enough to understand. How
Yeah,
did you cope with that?
I think I have a pretty good ear with an English accent because I've been listening to, Coronation Street, who they have a lot of different people from different areas, and I feel like I can understand it pretty well versus somebody like my husband who doesn't watch, British TV, and he can't understand any of it. So, I only really struggled with one person that I absolutely could not understand. And that was the tattoo artist, Martin. His accent was so thick, and he did speak pretty fast as the normal dialect, that he had to slow it down for me. And I felt so bad because I kept saying, what'd you say? What? He was probably annoyed with me.
And you are the furthest travelled tattoo person that's been in his shop. So that's an accolade, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. I felt like, oh, okay, I got that going for me. I got an international shout out. He had posted it on his tattoo shop page, and said I was his most traveled
Furthest
customer,
travelled customer, yeah.
furthest traveled customer. Yeah, so that was pretty impressive. Yeah.
So what about food in the UK, and what was your favourite dish or thing you tried whilst here?
Okay, so I really, really wanted to try all the local custom dishes. So I am not an adventurous eater too. I should probably mention that. I have a lot of like texture issues. So but I did try everything. I had a proper English cuppa. I had Yorkshire pudding, the beef kind, and I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm not a huge meat eater. Um, I also tried fish and chips. I had Lancashire hot pot, and that was lamb,
Okay.
correct? Yep.
Yeah.
And then I had a full English breakfast, but it was the veggie kind. So that was the beans and toast and hash brown and tomatoes.
So let's
And,
talk about that, because
okay.
in America, when Americans hear about the British eating beans on toast, it's not at all what you think it is it?
No, it's not, because the beans that we have here would be like baked beans that we have for a barbecue. We would never think to put that beans on a piece of bread and then eat that for breakfast. That's not a breakfast food. That's more like a dinner.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was sweet. It
Right.
had like a sweet sauce with it. It was very good. I would not think that combination would go together, but it sure did.
Okay. So carry on.
Okay. I also had a fresh tuna salad, which is a funny story. And then I had sausage roll, and then I tried traditional Scottish eggs.
Scotch egg, yeah. You
Okay.
didn't like the Scotch egg, did you?
I did not. I had issue with the texture. The taste was good, but the texture of I don't think it was the egg, it was the
Sausage
breading.
meat, right.
Yeah, I didn't care for that. So it was the only thing I didn't enjoy. I think my favorite was the Yorkshire pudding, because the gravy and the mashed potatoes, and I love cooked carrots. And then the flakiness of, I don't know what, that's not bread. What would you call that? Like the outside, the pudding part, I guess.
Right.
It was so good. Everything just flowed together. It was the gravy for me was amazing. And the fish and chips. I had a really, really good fish and chips. It was very fresh. It wasn't real heavy and greasy. It was absolutely delicious. I love mine with tartar sauce. So I had that, and I feel like the tartar sauce was very fresh and house made. So I enjoyed everything.
Okay, so that brings me on to my next question. If you were to describe a Yorkshire pudding to a fellow American, how would you describe it?
I think the best way I would describe it as similar to our what we call a pot pie. Because it has a gravy to it, has veggies in it, but a pot pie kind of comes with like a crust over the top that's baked. Now this
Right.
doesn't have that. It kind of has like, I guess maybe like a crust on the bottom. So yeah, I think that's probably the most comparable thing.
Okay. So what did you think I mean, we visited a couple while you were here, the traditional English pubs.
Yeah, I thought they were all very fun. Um, I did get to go with another pen pal, and she works in a pub, and got to meet some of the locals. And boy, they sure love their spot. They love their local spot, and they just very friendly, and they very much know each other and very social. So when somebody like me walks in and says, "I'll have a Coke," they're all kind of staring like, "Who is she? Where'd she come from?" So
Right.
it was fun. Yeah.
So is there something that you really wanted to try or do that you didn't get the opportunity to do whilst you were here?
I thought about this the other day. I thought I really wanted to go to like a proper tea shop
Okay.
where they sell tea, obviously, but maybe more like the fancy desserts that comes on like the layered trays.
Right. So afternoon tea.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I didn't get to do that, but maybe next time, because I don't feel like I missed out, but I definitely feel like if I had more time, I probably would have done that.
So let's go back to driving in the UK. Do you think it's easier to drive here or in the States? And how does it compare?
I think it's easier to drive in the States because of the amount of roundabouts that you guys have there. I feel like you'll drive a mile and then there's another roundabout. And then sometimes there's like double roundabouts, like a circle 8. Like you do one and then you go around another one. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You guys love your roundabouts.
There are a few. Okay.
And we really don't have that many here. They're starting to become more popular, but not as many as you guys.
Okay. And how did you, I mean, we didn't spend very much time in Barnsley because we obviously had other things that you wanted to do, but what did you think to Barnsley as a town?
I actually really loved it. And there was a lot of things that I noticed that I didn't really tell you about. I loved that there was so many people out walking, and that's just kind of, the norm there. Whereas here, like I told you, people only kind of walk here as if they're intentional, like going to the park and walking on a walking path, or if they're out walking their dog. We don't really walk too much to get where we're going because a lot of people have cars here as their own transportation. But I loved when you did come in contact with somebody you didn't know, they would say, "Hiya, you okay?" And, it's just kind of neighborly and checking on everybody. I really respected that. But I also respected the fact that in Barnsley, I felt like there was people of all shapes and sizes and
Right.
colors. And it's like, come as you are, we accept you. It wasn't like, oh, why is she wearing that shirt? She shouldn't be. That's kind of American. And
Yeah.
that happens here a lot. And it made me feel more comfortable in my own skin, actually.
Okay. So not necessarily Barnsley, but would you want to live in the UK if you were to?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. And my last question is, would you like to come back? And are you coming back?
I hope so. Yes, I plan on it. I kept telling everybody, "Oh, it's a once in a lifetime trip. This is my only time I'm going to be able to do this. It took me 40 years." And my husband said, "Stop saying that. This may be one of many. So stop saying that. Stop looking at it like that." And I thought, yeah, okay. So as you kept saying to me, next time, right?
I know exactly. And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about, yeah, right. So thank you very much, Beth. I'll say my good nights. So thank you very much, Beth, for joining us this evening and being my co-host. I hope you really, really enjoyed your trip to the UK. And I'm going now. Bye.
Bye.
What we're doing now? We're doing You waiting for me?
Yes.
I was waiting for you. And what we're doing next? And you always get the hairy lips grandma or great grandma, do you know what I mean? Where it sticks in your, go to kiss her and it sticks in your face. With the most...
Porcupine grandma.
Megacast TV, your channel of choice.